Sammy, and Adebiyi. Sure, I'll join you. I'm older than you. I should have said first. I can't get up here. You help? No,
it's rare for me to be at a loss for words. You can ask my wife; she can tell you that. And but this has just been one that, I mean, literally, I just drew a blank. You know, I mean, we knew this was coming for a while, and so one part of me, I was trying to ignore it. There's another part of me that was trying to prepare for it, and there's just nothing. And even earlier this week, he asked me, he said, "Hey, you want to preach? You know, give it one last go?" And I was like, "Oh, let me think about it." And I thought about it for like 3 days, and it was just like nothing. Like I just felt like I was drawing a blank. And I stayed up late last night, and I just sat there, and I got up early this morning, and I don't know. And finally, just 30 minutes before we left, I just sat at my computer, and I don't know. I guess what my heart felt, you know, I was just journaling. You know, I just wrote down. I was just like, God, I'm so thankful, and I just feel like I think that's really all I want to say. Is I'm so thankful. I'm thankful for God and His story, but I'm thankful for the journey, the last 12 years being here. And he was saying earlier, all this stuff that that we're doing, and just God's doing some incredible things to our family. But the reality is, I was thinking about it this morning. 12 years ago, I mean, I was just some random kid from Africa. Smell like fish, and just couldn't understand a word I said. And Dave would always laugh at me because I'm like, turn to the book of Psalm 2 or something like that. And and honestly, even for myself, I don't think I really saw that much, But and so I just came in, and nobody knew who I was, and but these guys saw something in me, honestly, that I didn't even see myself at that point, and they gave me a chance, and I think that for me, it's just an awesome testimony to the sovereignty of God. And I used to be, I said this before, I used to be always afraid of God's sovereignty my whole life, because I was just like, I want to feel like I have control. But it's just amazing to see. I feel like God preordained this whole journey. And I know some of you guys have heard this story before, but before I left home, like 2 or 3 people came up to me and they said, hey, this was when I was still in Nigeria, hey, we had a dream independently. We saw you speaking to a room full of white people. And I was like, okay, that's weird. And it's just amazing for me to think that you guys were the white people in my early dreams. And I think that's pretty cool. I really think that, I mean, it's crazy for me to think people still ask me, like, why Toledo? I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I was coming of all the places I could go in the United States. My family is in Arizona and Atlanta. God is like, you're going to go to Toledo, and of all the churches I could have landed in, God is like, okay, you're going to go talk to the white people at the Vineyard Church. And here we are, and I really feel like that was God. I don't think it was random. I feel like God had a plan, and God knew that this was what I needed. And I was thinking this morning how, I mean, it's even when I realized that God was calling me to the ministry, I mean, and I'm not saying this to, I mean, I'm still managing it, honestly, a ton now, but like, I was so arrogant. I mean, I really was. Like, I read my journals from my first year, and I was just like, this is embarrassing. I can't even show my wife. This is so embarrassing. Like, I was so arrogant. And I think God knew that, and God, in His sovereignty, to say, all right, I'm going to send you to the most laid-back, humble pastor in town. And I'm also going to give you your own personal Simon Cowell and David Chum Chum. And between those 2 people, I think we'll manage this whole thing here we got going on here. And it's true. I mean, honestly, in the last 12 years, I feel like one of the biggest things that I've learned is that leadership in ministry is not about gift or charisma or about a gajillion people. It's about serving, it's about loving, it's about the heart, and that's what's going to matter at the end of the day. So when I think of the end of the line for me, you know, when I'm 60, which is a long time away, you know, when that time comes, you know, I feel like what I've seen in Bill and Barb in the last, you know, years is what I would like to see, you know, in my wife and I. If you'd have asked me this maybe 8 years ago, I would have said, hey, you know, lights and stage and stadiums and all that. And, but really more now, I feel like I can honestly say, you know, that I've learned that. You know, I've learned, you know, what it means and what true leadership looks like. And I'm thankful for that. And I keep thinking of a way, we were talking at dinner, how to kind of make this tangible. And I don't know, maybe I'm just overly optimistic. And it's just, I don't know how to deal with stuff like this anyways. But the word that keeps coming to my mind is just send it. You know, at least in my heart, that's what I'm telling myself. And I told Bill and Barbara at dinner, I'm like, I don't know if you guys, I hope you guys think that too. You know, and they do, but I just feel like it's ascending. Like, I feel like the metaphor is sort of like, you know, you've been raising this kid your whole life, and then at some point they're going to go to college, you know, and then they're going to get married, they're going to move out, you know. And that's what, honestly, I feel like I've been here this last 12 years, and it's time, you know, God's saying, all right, you know, we're sending you out now. And for me, I think that's I don't know, it just helps for me to look at it that way, because I feel like, okay, I can always come back home, you know. And he said, I mean, I'm glad you said this, we're having dinner the other day, I don't know if you were joking or serious, but I took it seriously, you know. He's like, if you leave and you hate it, you can come back. I was like, all right, good. You know, I put that card in my pocket, and now I'm telling all of you guys, so there's accountability. But I'm thankful, and I just want you to know that I'm not just saying this, I really believe with all of my heart that anything, you know, really, that I don't know what God's gonna do through us, but really God's sovereign plan. He was like, okay, Sammy, you're gonna go to Toledo, but you're gonna spend your 12 years, you know, I'm gonna give you a home, church home, and you're gonna be there, and you're gonna learn, and you're gonna grow, and I'm gonna send you. And I felt like that was a part of God's sovereign plan. I'm thankful for that. And so, it's ascending, and I hope that, you know, like he always uses the refrigerator analogy, I can just come back and, you know, grab some pop in the refrigerator and maybe speak once in a while. If you want to pick some dates before I leave, that would be nice.
You have any open dates?
Memorial Day, Labor Day. Those are usually the ones.
4th of July.
Yeah. I wrote down just like, I just wrote down about 4 or 5 things that I remember. I mean, there's obviously a lot more than that that's happened in the last 12 years, but the first couple are sort of kind of funny. I don't know if you remember this, but my first service, I was telling them, I hated it, like my first service here. I was living with Jonathan then, and I think a bunch of people were going with Jonathan. I was like, I'm not going to that church, everybody goes there, whatever, you know. I was trying to be cool, and then I think I just didn't have a ride. I was in the basement, and Jonathan knocked on the door like, hey, you want to go to the vineyard? And I was like, sure, you know, whatever. So I got in the car, and we got there, and I walked in. I came in like just super critical, like, oh, dude, I'm not going to like this. Before I even walk in there, you don't have a chance in your church, you know. And so I walk in, and I sit there, and I was like, oh, this isn't bad. And they're like, we're going to take a 10-minute break to eat donuts. And I was like, oh, man. I was like, what kind of church is this? They're eating donuts, taking a break? I just didn't get it. And I was just like, I'm never coming back here. And of course, Scott was laughing at me going, oh, yeah, right. It's 12 years, dude. You know? And so that was my first service. And it's just awesome to see, you know, how God, by the time I left the service that day, I just knew that there was something here, you know. And the second thing I remembered was, and if you want to tell this from your perspective, I think so they first started letting me speak at Peace House, which is a lot of fun, and then he asked me to speak on Sunday, and I think it was one of the first few times I did, and as an illustration, I ripped the Bible. Do you remember that? I ripped pages out of the Bible.
I remember hearing about it.
Yeah. You weren't there that Sunday?
That was probably Memorial Day.
But I just had this illustration. Honestly, it didn't even cross my mind. I was just like, you know, it just made sense. And so I was preaching, I just started ripping pages out of the Bible. And I got a gentle rebuke later. It's like, just let me know next time you're going to do that, just so I can have a heads heads up. And I didn't think it was a big deal. It's an old King James Bible, I won't use that anymore. So, I'm just kidding, I'm sorry, I'm
You're going to get beat up for
kidding.
that. I'm going to protect you. I was going to
Sorry. Do you remember that? I don't know, that was just...
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you got any emails or anything, but sorry.
You.
The other thing, third thing was our wedding. He did our wedding 3 years ago. And this is so, well, it wasn't funny then. It's funny now. It's just things you look back and you're like, oh, it's funny, but then it wasn't funny. But we had our rehearsal, and it was, I don't know if it was 30 minutes before, but rehearsal was about to start, and he wasn't here yet. Obviously, he was doing our rehearsal. And so I just texted him, because Ashley was like, hey, where's everybody? And so I was like, hey, you're on your way to rehearsal? And he texted him back. He's like, what rehearsal? I'm at a Tigers game in Detroit. I was like, oh man, I'm getting married tomorrow. How am I going to drop this bomb on Ashley? And then he walked in like 2 minutes later and started smiling. He was in the parking lot texting me, like, we're at a Tigers game. That's good. I wasn't laughing then. But these two are, the last two, I guess, are kind of sort of serious. But I don't know if Michelle Gray is here. I don't think she's here. But I don't know. I guess you guys can tell her if you see her. But I just think it's cool. Like every time I speak, every time I come up here, and every time I share, Michelle always came up to me and she would give me a hug, and she would say to me, "Hey, I just want you to know that your mom would be so proud." And she did it every single time. And I don't know. That was just amazing. And the last thing, the last memory I guess I have is for Dave. And I like Dave a lot, man. I really do. Sometimes people ask me, like, what's it like working with Dave? And they get like a 5-minute snippet into Dave, and they're like, what's it like? And I was like, he's kind of like Simon, like he'll be super blunt and tell you stuff that you're like, okay, Dave, blow the filter, But at the same time, though, I can honestly say that I don't know, I really don't know if I could think of very many people at all who has always seemed to see things in me that's bigger than I ever saw myself, And I just felt like there were times when Dave would say and do things, and I'm just like, it just blew me away. I'm just like, I don't get it. Like, it's like, he just has always believed in me, and he's always pushed me. He's always honest and telling me, I heard that talk before, or you said this 10 times, but he's always encouraged me. And Dave, I don't know if you know this, well, you probably don't even remember, but the first time that I knew that this was my home was, I think it was in 2000, I don't remember what it was. I had gone on a mission trip for the summer, and I think I was gone for a couple months, and I came back on Sunday morning. I was so excited. I mean, that was kind of the first trip. Okay, I'm so excited. I can't wait to go to church, And I came late because I was in college, and that's what we do. And I came late to the service. It was at the Red Barn, and so worship was already going on and all of that. And I walked in the door, and as I walked in, I just looked up, and Dave just looked at me, and he just winked at me, during worship. And at that moment, I just knew. I was just like, you know what? Man, this is it. This is home. And I'll never forget that moment. I'm just thankful. I'm thankful for what God has done, and I'm thankful for you guys believing, and Ashley and I'm thankful for helping us with Bebe and Zakuska, I mean, it's insane what God has done, and it's always. Let me just say this about our leadership. Like, I tell people this all the time. Even at the new job, I told them, I was like, honestly, I don't get it, because this Zakuska thing we did never really brought anything to Sunday mornings, that much. We got a handful of college students, and probably most churches, probably 9.5 out of 10, wouldn't invest in it the way this church has, because it's like, no one's showing up Sunday morning, so it's like you're getting anything out of it, What Bill and Barb did over and over again, they invested in us and invested in the ministry, and it's incredible to see what God did. And this summer, we got kids that are going to Mexico. I think some of them are here. We got kids that are going to Haiti. This is not planned. This wasn't like, hey, let's send some trips. They're just like, hey, there's a bunch of us going to Mexico. handful of us going to Haiti, and it's just amazing to see